Well, here we have the Bauhinia dodecahedron, which is also called the Rex dodecahedron, and I'm going to be starting a series of videos on solving this thing. And these videos are going to be largely quite long because this is a pretty complex puzzle. It's an absolutely beautiful puzzle. And a couple of words before I start. The first is that the turning is not the best, and the last thing I would want is for you to be put off by the turning, because it is still well worth the money in my opinion, getting this puzzle. And I've lubed this puzzle quite a bit, so you know, I can turn it like that, no problem, and it doesn't, you know, I'm not getting pieces popping or anything like that. It's just occasionally it'll catch and things need to be aligned really, really well. That's no big deal, I guess. The other thing is the colour scheme, and I've stickered mine in the, I guess, what is the standard colour scheme, but it does make it a little difficult, I think, sometimes to see the differences. This here is a white petal, this is a little white triangle, that's a pale yellow petal, so I don't know how well those differences show up, but certainly sometimes it's obvious, other times not so much. Now the approach I'm going to take is, there is one approach we could take, which is just to solve all the edges, then solve all the petals, and then solve all the centres and all the triangles. I could do that and it would work, but it would be incredibly tedious and, in my opinion, heaps more boring than the way that we're going to do it. And that way is to solve one face, and I'm going to use it on the top at the moment, and then put that face on the bottom and forget about it, and then solve all the others and build them up, so the lower faces first, and then deal with all this stuff up the top. So that's the approach I'm going to take, and you can start with whatever colour you like, but I'm starting with white. And what I'm going to do first here is to find the white centre which is there. Ignoring that, I don't care about that at the moment. I'm going to solve all the little triangles around that white centre to begin with. So the way that I'm thinking about doing this is just finding a white triangle. There's a couple here, and sort of at the moment turning it up, seeing where it goes. And if we look at this one here, I see that that one actually went up into that spot. So I could turn it up there, but it knocks the centre out. So what I'd like to do before I turn it up is just move the centre out the way, turn it up, and move the centre back. And you can see that that's now attached that triangle to the centre. And essentially that's the kind of thing I'm doing for all of these. So let's move this other white triangle over to here. So let's have a look. If I turn that up, where does that go? It goes to that position there. So I'm looking to see if it's going to land there. Can I move these done bits out of the way? I certainly can. I'll just push them out the way there, move that triangle up, and push them back. That's two of them done. So next I'm seeing a white triangle over here. Once again I'll push it up and see where it lands, and in this case it lands in the position where I've already got a white triangle. So for now I'm just going to say, alright, well, I'll turn it over somewhere else and try again. Now this one, if I move that up, it's going to land where that yellow one is. And even though that's a piece that I can afford to lose, I'm not happy with it at the moment because it's on the other side of the triangle. So at this stage I'll say, alright, well, I'll just kind of turn it around a little bit more. Now I assure you there is a far more scientific and logical way to deal with these triangles, but for this sort of purpose this is good enough. We don't want to get bogged down too much at the moment. So at this stage I'm happy enough to just be moving them around, and it's fairly clear. This one here, when I turn it up, is going to go there, and it's also going to be obvious, I should think, that I can move all this stuff off. So I turn that off, push the triangle up, and turn them back. So I repeat that the triangles are the hardest part of this whole thing whenever we're dealing with triangles, and in the subsequent parts of the solve there will definitely be a much more rigorous way to place them where we want to place them. So at this stage I've got two to go, so I've got to find where they are. There's one down here, in fact there's one here. So let's put this one up here and see where that gets us. Now it's sitting there, so if I turn that up, that actually goes exactly the position that I'd like it to go, because that's a position that's not yet filled. So I'll just turn the stuff off that's done, align it correctly, turn the triangle up, and turn it back. So that's that fourth one done. The other one I think was down here. Yep. So turning that up and closer to where it needs to be, Let's have a look now if this is in the right position. That is in the right position. So that's the last of the triangles that I need to do. So I just need to once again turn off what I've done, turn my triangle up, and complete that little white star. So that's the first part. It just so happens that we've got a white petal in there, and I'm going to take that because that's the next type of piece that I'm going to place. So I've already got one of them done. So in order to place these petals, because of the way that these things turn, if you look at, for example, if you look at this orange petal here, and I can turn it around to there, I can also then turn that around to there, I could turn it around to here. So whenever I'm thinking, I'm always looking as to where it's going to come from. So a petal that belongs here needs to be here first, or else here. Either of those positions will do. So if I'm thinking about how to get it to those positions, I'm locating a white petal first. So there seems to be a few over here. So let's get one of them like this. And that position there is not a good position to have a petal. So what I do then is turn it down like this and think, how can I get it to either this position or this position over here? And for example, if I wanted to put it over to this position, then I'm thinking, well, that could come from there, which could come from here. And I know this white petal is over here, so I'm going to turn that down and then just rotate it around to that position. And then I can actually turn it up here and then around to here, or I could even be smarter and just turn it straight up to there. So that's now in a position ready to turn up, and the only thing is, because I've done some of it already, I've got to put that stuff out of the way before I turn it up. So that's the position that I'm trying to fill. I'm going to turn this stuff off. I'm also going to turn that last little white triangle off that way, and now that's clear to turn up my petal. As long as I turn back my faces in the way that I turned them off, there's no problem, and that's placed that without any trouble really. I've got another one here that's already in its correct position, so I'm going to now do the same thing. I want to have this part here clear to turn up that petal, so I'll turn that off that way, and I'll turn this one off that way. Now it doesn't matter that that's been disrupted, because that'll be undisrupted in a minute. I can now turn up my petal, and then as long as I turn back the vertices in the order that I turn them off, everything will come back where it should be. Okay, so the next one I've got is this one here. I've got to place it here or here. It doesn't matter which one. So I guess as an example, well, the other place I could place it is here to go up to there. So if I was thinking about this, I'd probably start by, well, let's try and place it over to this position. Let's move it over to this position. So first thing I do is turn it down here and down here. Now I need to get it up to that region. So if I then rotate there and turn it back here, I've got it where I want it. And now I just need to rotate that so it's in that position, and now it's ready to go up. So once again, we turn off the bits that we don't want to touch. Now we're turning this, so I've got to turn that part off there. Make sure nothing's going to be affected. Turn up the petal, turn back the bits, and that's placed the fourth one. And our fifth white petal is over here. So let's first move it towards where it needs to be. Again, it's next to one of the positions that it does need to be. So at this stage I might turn it off like that, turn it down so that I can rotate it. This seems very similar to what we did before, doesn't it? Rotating it up to there, and because it's got to go to that position, it's got to come from here. So I can just turn that around and it's ready. Now don't worry about this edge, it is in here, and if we could afford to leave it in we probably would, but that's no big deal. So again, we'll turn off our triangles and other petals, turn up that last petal and return those things, and by that the petals are done. And that leads us to the final part of this face, which is the edges. Now we do have one edge in here. In terms of knowing which edges to put, it depends on your colour scheme, but I think this is the standard colour scheme, and in terms of that, if that's my white face, then I always remember that I go red, white blue, white yellow, white purple, white green. Now you can either remember that, or you can be guided by the colours of these edges here, which when we have that on the bottom, they'll be the lower equator edges. So if that's a white purple and I'm wondering what goes here and what goes here, well, I've got a purple green here, so one of these must be green, and then I could find a purple something else, and one of them must be, the other one must be yellow. And in terms of, if you wanted to keep doing that, at that stage we don't know whether that's purple, white yellow or white green, but we could figure it out by looking at the other edges. I just find it's easier to remember red, blue, yellow, purple, green. So given that that's the case, and I've got a purple in here, I could say next I'm going to move around and go the white green, wherever that is, and it's just here. Now doing these edges is fairly simple. What we want to do is turn them just below where it's got so it can turn up into its position, and we want to have it correctly oriented. So you can see that if I just turn that up, that white is on the correct face. So that's good. So all I need to do before I turn it up is to get rid of anything that's in the way. So again, I want nothing on these parts here, so I'm going to turn that off, then I'm going to turn that off, and don't be fooled by that, that's going to disappear. Now that that's all clear, I can turn up that white green, and I just need to remember to turn back my faces, or my vertices I should say, as I turn them off. And so that's now placed that white green. So the next one around will be the white red, and that's in exactly the right position again, fortuitously. So once again, I think about turning off the stuff that I've already done, turning up the white red, and returning my pieces. The next one around will be the white blue, and that's down here. So we bring it up to the vicinity. Now, I'm glad this happened. This is a good example of when it's not correctly oriented. If I try and turn that white blue up, you can see that it's in position, but the blue is on that top face, not the white. So when that happens, all you need to do is move it around this face to that side. Watch what happens if we do that. Well, first thing is actually being able to do it. And there we go. All I've done is move it from there to there to there to there. And you'll see that that's now changed the orientation of the piece, so that now when I turn that up, that's correctly placed. So that's how we deal with that. So once again, I want to turn it up on this one, so I want to get rid of anything that's in the way. I'll turn that off. I will turn that off. Turn up my blue, turn back the other things, and that's placed. So of course the last one must be this white yellow. So again, we just turn it around to the vicinity of where it needs to be. That one is correctly oriented, so that'll turn straight up. And so for the final time, turn off the bits that we want to protect, turn up the edge, turn back those bits, and we've completed one face, in this case the white face, and we're ready to go on to the next stage. Well, here we are at the second stage of this solve, and it's the main stage. It's the most hefty stage of the thing, and it's going to be a fairly long video, and I'm going to have links up in somewhere on the video just so that you can skip ahead to the next part of it if you want, but if you've got the time, I'd encourage you to watch the whole thing. And what we've done so far is solve one face, the white face in this example, and we're going to work our way up. So we're going to do these edges, and at the same time we're going to complete these petals here. Once we've done all of them, we're then going to, because at that stage we'll have all of this sort of thing done, we're then going to place these little triangles here. Once that's done, we'll have all of that on each face done, each of these lower faces. We're then going to place the two little triangles here, then going to place these two petals, finally going to place these two edges, and I say finally, what I really mean is nearly finally, and finally we're going to place these bits here. And the hardest part, or the most difficult part, it's not actually that difficult, but it's the most confusing part, is dealing with anything to do with the little triangles. So I'll make sure I take that slow enough that you can see what's going on. But by the end of this, we'll have every one of these lower faces done. So let's begin. The other thing I should say is that I have lubed this quite a lot, and so even though it is lubed, the turning is still not wonderful, but don't let that put you off. This is a fantastic puzzle. Now let's really begin. What we want to do is look for any edge that belongs in these positions. So we can tell that by the colours. So there's a purple-yellow edge somewhere around. There's also a blue-red edge, and you can see there it is there. So we've just got to find any of those. Here's a red-green one. Let's move it around to where it needs to be. So at this stage we'll just see a red-green one here. We'll turn it around over to this sort of position, and we can do that like so. And you can see that that's placed and it's oriented correctly. If it's not, as will happen, I'll show you how to deal with that. But once we've got it in there oriented, we want to now think that we've got these two petals that we want to place. So a dark green petal needs to go here, and a red petal needs to go here. So let's turn it up, and now remember that we want to put a dark green here. So we look somewhere up the top and find there's a few greens, and it's got to go into that position. So we just follow it around and say it could be there and it could be there. That'll get us to what we want. So since this is a dark green, put it in that position first, and now just turn the various, well, they're not faces, but turn the various vertices until that's placed in that position. And you'll remember also, and just to make this clear, when we turn that back down, that's done. And so this one needed to be red. So we turn that up, and again we look for a red somewhere. It's not one obvious, so there's one over here. So we can just turn that up to the top face at the moment, and then think, where does that need to go? Down here. And so that is now in perfect position, just to turn it down to there. And having done that, we put it back in, and it's done. Simple as that. Let's look for another one. Here's a purple yellow, and that belongs down here. So let's turn that down into position. Good, this time we can see that that's in position, but it's not oriented correctly. The purple is matching this yellow, which is wrong. So we have to get it oriented correctly first. And the way we do that is turn it up until it's on the top face. So that's now on the top face there, remembering that this is the bottom. So here it is up here, and then we turned it up this direction, so we bring it back down the other way. So we just turn it down like that. When we do that, you'll see that it's now correctly oriented, and it's brought that purple petal with it. So on this occasion we only need to do that dark yellow petal. So we turn it up again and look for a petal that's here or here or here. There's one. So we'll just turn that through, turn it down, and that one's done. Red-blue looks like it's next, and that belongs right over the other side, so we'll turn it around towards the other side. We're just making sure obviously that we don't disrupt something we've already done. So if I want to get it over there, I can of course turn it like that, turn it off, and just make sure I put this one back. So where's our red-blue? Here it is. Let's turn it down, and we'll see that that is correctly oriented. So this time a red has got to go here, so let's turn that up and get ourselves a red into this position. Now I can see one here, so what I'll do now is just turn that up to there, and then think that if it's got to go here, I've got to start it here. So I'll just turn that around, bring it back down. Next one, this has got to be a blue, so I might as well just turn that around, and of course sometimes I'll end up going twice the other way from the turning of it. But we've got it around here, and I need a blue to go in this position. I can see one here. Let's see if there's an easier one. Nothing massively easier. I could use this one, of course. Let's use this one. And at this stage I'll put it up on the top, and I'll think I need one to be here or here or here. So if I need it here, then of course I can turn that around and then just rotate this vertex. Now that it's there, I can bring it back down, so it's still on the upper face, and excuse the turning. Once again, let's get everything aligned properly. There we go. And bring it back down, and we're done. So I think we've only got two to go now. Where's the next one? I'm looking for a yellow blue and a purple green. There's the yellow blue. Let's get that yellow blue over to where it should be. I'll turn it round up here across the top. And I've managed to orient it correctly and bring it in with a yellow petal, so that's good. So I've just got to stick a blue one into that position. So here's a blue up here, so that's actually already in the correct position to bring over to here and then down to here. So that was fairly painless, and that's done. And the last one, the green purple, which is, oh, looks like it's right over the other side. Oh, not really, no, it's pretty close. Okay, let's turn it around. This time I can turn it over there, and I've put this one out, so I want to make sure I get that back. So I'll turn this one like that, and then put my red green back. Now, the green purple is not oriented correctly, so I want to make sure that it doesn't matter which way I go up, so let's go up this way first, put it up to the top face, and then bring it back down the other side. Which way have I got to go here? Go down like that. And that's now oriented. So we want to put a purple where this light green is. Oh, there's one right there. Turn that down, and you know that we want a dark green where this light blue is. So we'll turn it around to there so that I can rotate it here. And as I look to see what's where, I've got this dark green that I might as well bring up to there. That's where I need it. So it could be there, or it could be there. So let's turn that one so that it's in that position, ready to turn. And they're done. So that's fairly straightforward, those edges and the petals. Now, the next section is these little triangles here. And those triangles, there's only 5 of them, and what we're looking for, if we think about how these full petals, I guess you'd call them, by which I mean a petal, 3 triangles and a centre, how they move around. This petal here is, if I turn that up, you can see it's sitting there, and so anything that is sitting here, that means that will come down and place there. Which means since I'm trying to place this little triangle, that little triangle is that one there. So just to show you what's going on, if I said that's what I want to do and I brought this down, I need to bring that down, just use an edge piece series, and so there's the first 2 moves, and align everything. And this does sometimes happen, but don't let it put you off. And that little purple triangle is now in there, and it hasn't disturbed anything else. It doesn't disturb any other edges, it doesn't disturb any other parts of the puzzle. So obviously what I need to do is get a red triangle, since I'm trying to place a red, to be in this position or in this position, so I can go down the other way. Now what I want to look for first is to get a red triangle in the vicinity. So here's one here, it's not there. Let's turn it around to this position. It's not there. Now's a good time to start talking about the movement of triangles, because this is going to be crucial to when we come to place these little triangles as well, and in fact the other ones. So what I've discovered is that triangles will move around this centre by 2. In other words, we can do 2 moves and we can make a triangle move 2 around that way or 2 around that way. I want this red triangle to go from here around to that position. So that means I want it to move anti-clockwise around the centre. If that's the case, I need to do 2 clockwise moves of vertices which contain this red triangle. Let me demonstrate. It's on here and I want to bring it back down to there. So I'm going to do a clockwise move, firstly of that vertex. Then I'm going to do a clockwise move of another vertex that contains that same red triangle. Here it is up here. So that'll be this one. And you can see I've put it in that desired position. And that is the basic rule, or the basic procedure for moving little triangles around as you need to do. Now that it's in that position, I can place it. And I won't talk more about that now, I'll wait till the next one, but now that it's there, I can just put it down into this position using the standard move. There we go, and that red triangle has been placed. Let's work around here and find that we need a green one. Once again, we've got a green one sitting here in exactly the same position that it was before. So because it needs to go 2 around anti-clockwise around this centre, means I need to move the 2 faces clockwise. So I turn this, I keep calling them faces, you know what I mean. Turn this one clockwise, and then it's on this one here, so I'll turn that clockwise. Done. Now that it's there, I can go ahead and place it. Moving along, oh, purple's done, good. Next one, yellow. Now here's a yellow over here, so again, just be aware that's a dark yellow, this is a pale yellow, so we're looking for the dark yellow. It's not in the right position there, but I'll turn it around this way. Once again, it's in that position. I'm not happy with that, so I'm just going to pretend that it's over here, and I need to move it here. So if this was the case, because I can move it by 2s, I would be thinking I want to move it 2 that way, and then 2 again. So 2 clockwise to get it there, another 2 clockwise to get it there. And because of that, I'm thinking, right, if I want to move it clockwise around the centre, I need to turn my 2 faces anti-clockwise. So let's have a look what I can turn. It's on this one here, so I'll turn that anti-clockwise. There's one of them. Where is it? It's currently there. So it's on this one, so then I'll turn that anti-clockwise as well. Remember, it was here, I've just moved it 2 around that way. I again need to go 2 clockwise, so again I think I'm going to turn anti-clockwise there, and finally it's on this part, and so I turn anti-clockwise, and look where it's landed, right there, exactly where I need it. So now that it's there, place it. And the reason this is easy to place is because we're only concerned with that bottom triangle. We don't care what happens here yet. So we've done all of them now except for this blue one. So now let's have a look. I've got a blue one that is here, and I've got a blue one that's here. Now you know by now that I need the piece to be here. So this is actually ready in position. Let's pretend that's not there. Let's get rid of it. Put it over here somewhere. Put that one over there as well. Here's one here, so let's move that up. Oh, that's very disappointing. Okay, let's put it, well, let's do that. Again, I think this is like the first one, and we would look at it and say it needs to go here, and so that's got to go 2 anti-clockwise, and so I need to turn my faces, 2 of my faces or my vertices, clockwise. So there's one of them, there's the other, puts it in position. So I probably don't need to spend more time on that because we're going to get plenty of practice placing our little triangles in subsequent stages. So you can see now that that has done all of this lower part of the lower faces. Now the next stage is to place these 2 little triangles here. Again, I don't care about this stuff here until the very end. So that centre, those 2 triangles and that petal, irrelevant. So it's nice that that red's there, but it's not going to help. I want to place a red triangle here and a red triangle here. Now, you've guessed it, we're going to use that same thing with the triangles to see how we can move it. So I can see a red triangle here, and I know that what I really would like is to have that move 2 anti-clockwise to get to that position. So I'll turn it up here, 2 anti-clockwise around the centre, so I need to move 2 parts clockwise. So let's do that. I'll move this one first of all, and then I'll move this one. And you can see it's gone exactly where we wanted it to go, and now if I turn that back down, that's in position. Now once you've got one of them in position, doesn't matter which one, if we turn it up to there, you can see that when I turn that, this little red triangle doesn't move. So now we can just play with stuff up here. Let's find another one. There's one over there. I wonder if there's a closer one. It doesn't look like it. So we'll bring that one up just into the vicinity of the area, and we of course, if we just take stock of what's going on, we want to put it where that green triangle is currently. So that little position there. So let's turn it around. Now currently it's here and I need to get it there. So I can't move by 1, I need to move by 2. So I'm going to have to go 2 clockwise, then another 2 clockwise. So with that in mind, let's put the one that we've already done back down here, and now let's put that there. I needed to move 2 clockwise, and that means that my vertices turn anti-clockwise. So anti-clockwise there. Now you'll notice that if I try and turn this one anti-clockwise, it doesn't actually contain the red triangle. So that means I've just got to rethink which vertices I turn. So I initially turned this one to get it up there. What happens instead if I turn this one, turn that anti-clockwise, then you'll notice that I could turn this one anti-clockwise. Let's see where that leaves us. That actually, let's having a look at it, is exactly what we wanted, because it was here and we needed to move it 2 around. And now that I've done that, I need to move it 2 around again, clockwise. So once again, I'm going to turn 2 of my vertices anti-clockwise. So let's just try this one first, and that puts it here, which means that I can turn that anti-clockwise to put it there. Now we know that's right, and all we need to do now to get it down here is turn that off, bring this part up. In fact, let's turn it off in a more intelligent manner than that. I'm bringing this up here, and so let's have a look. In fact, I've just turned the wrong thing, so let me just deal with that again. There we go, that's better. I'm going to turn that off like this, turn this one back up, and that's better. Now I can turn that back down into that position. So having done that, I can turn them down, and those 2 triangles are done. Okay, let's move around. You can do these in any order, it doesn't matter, but I'm just moving around the puzzle. So let's have a look what we've got. We've already got a green one in position, and I can see that by turning that there. So that means I've got to place this green one here. So let's get it up to the top and think that it's that position that I need to fill with a green one. So that blue position there. So there's a green over here. Let's turn it and see where it is. It's got to go there. So once again, I've got to go 2 clockwise, 2 clockwise, which means a couple of sets of anti-clockwise turns. So first I'll turn that anti-clockwise, see where it puts it. Now, I can now turn this one anti-clockwise, but it is going to just bump this out a little bit. So what I'd do there is turn it anti-clockwise to put it in my position, and then just so as I don't lose this one, push that off, just momentarily. Push that out the way and push this one back, and then move that one back where it was. So I've moved that from here to here, and I now need to move that from here to here. So once again, 2 anti-clockwise turns. Now I could turn this face, but it's going to involve those red ones, and I'd prefer to leave them if I can. So I'll see if there's another face close by that I can turn, and I can, looks like I can do this one first of all, and then this one. And that has now put that green one exactly where I need it. So once again, I'll turn that off this way, just aligning, there we go, aligning things, turning that off, ignore that, push that up and turn our green back on, and that's now placed those 2. Moving along, got to place these purples, and I've got purples everywhere here, so let's see if any of them are in position. I could try. Yep, I've just managed to place this one here, and I can tell that by turning it down, and that's done that one. So that means moving along, this triangle here is actually going to be that light green. So I need to get a purple into that light green position. This is good because I've got one here, which means I can go 2 anti-clockwise, which means I need to turn a couple of vertices clockwise. Now let's firstly turn this one clockwise to put that purple there, and then an adjoining one, which would be this one here, turn that clockwise as well, and we've placed that purple exactly where we want it. So once again, to connect it to this, turn that up, bring that up, turn our new, oh, what happened there? Turn the wrong one perhaps. Yes, I did. In fact, this is good. I'm quite happy with making mistakes on this because it'll show you why I have to really think about this. And I've just turned it off the wrong way. I've turned it off on the wrong face. So let me put that back down for a minute, and let's put this one. Where did it go? Went back. There we go, that position, that's better. I think what I did is turn it up here or something. So what I want to do is turn that purple triangle up to there, and it's one of them. Put that in position and then turn that back. That's better. So I've got these two here. So now that I've got those two, I can turn that back. And once again, the fact that I've got this and that is also irrelevant. Just ignore that. I think we've got two to go, so let's do these yellow ones, and you'll see that all the ones that we've done, we've not disturbed anything else. So let's have a look. We've got a yellow, there's a yellow one here. So at the moment I'd be thinking, I'm getting to know that it needs to be in this position or this position, so either way I'm going to have to bring it to here or to here. Doesn't really matter at this stage. So let me think, if I want to bring it over to here, that's anti-clockwise, so I'm going to turn two faces clockwise. So let's turn that one, and then that one, and that's put it around to there, and then we'll do that again. So again, I want to go anti-clockwise, so I'm going to turn two faces clockwise. One and two, and that's placed our first yellow triangle. And I now think that that's the other one that I need to put. So I need to locate another one. Here's one over here. We'll bring it down into the vicinity. And here it is here. I needed it to go there. So I've got to go two clockwise around here. Therefore I'll turn two vertices anti-clockwise. And I know I keep referring to vertices and faces. I mean exactly the same thing. Here we go. Moving clockwise, turn the two of them. One anti-clockwise, two anti-clockwise, and that's now in position. Alright, now let's see if I can get this right. I want to attach it here, so I'm going to turn that face off, turn its neighbour up, put that one back on, and move it down. That's done. Last one, we've already got a blue, which is nice, so I need to get another blue into that position now. So let's locate it. Here's one of them. And it's there, and I need it to be there, so we'll go two clockwise, which means as far as the thing's turning, it's anti-clockwise for each of them. Now, that puts that there, which is okay, but I then got to turn this one, which will be fine, but it'll disturb this one. I guess we can still do that. Let's put it there. Get rid of that for a minute, and I've just got to be careful here because I've just involved those yellow ones. So instead of getting rid of it like that, I'll get rid of it up around here. Push this one back down so as not to disturb that one. Now where did I put it? There. So now two around clockwise again, so two faces anti-clockwise like that. And in fact I can even use the one that's here now because it's in position, so I might as well just turn that down and those two are done. And that completes that phase of the solve. Now, next step is to place these petals here. So, as we think about this, the way that we need to do it is basically to put a matching colour petal in this position on the top face, right above that bit there. And I'll show you why that's going to work. So, we'll just find one first. We'll find a blue petal and move it up and get it happening. So there's one over here, so I'll move that up and just take it off and put those. Always got to be aware of just not to disturb stuff we've already done. I want to get it over here, so the way I'm going to do that is turn it to there. Remember, I'm looking at the upper face here. Turn it to there, and then move it round to here, and then move this so that that goes to there. Now you can see that's directly above that position. Here's why that's going to work. What we want to do is turn a position up, so this light green is where I need it to go. Now all I'm going to do is turn this blue around into there. But before I do that, so as not to disturb these ones, I simply turn that down, put it into position, turn it back, replace it. Done. Simple. Let's find another blue. There's one over here, so again I'll bring that up into the mix, just get it away from there so I can replace these purples over the other side, and that's now in position. So we turn that up. We don't want to disturb these, so we turn them off. And you'll notice the reason this works is because this stuff up here, I haven't placed any of this, so I can use that just to sort of shield the ones that I've already done. Turn the vertex around to place the petal, turn these bits back, and that's done. Easy. Reds. Now we've got one here, and I need it to be here, so the easiest way to do that is just to turn it and turn that vertex like that. I do apologise if I'm going a little bit fast, but I'm aware of the length of the video, so hopefully you're getting what's going on. So now that that's in position, we can once again turn that up, turn off the bits we've done, turn it around, put our bits back, return. Next, red. Well, there's one here, so let's get it at least up to that sort of area. We're going to do the same routine as before. We're going to move it across to here, around to there, and then finally over to this position where we need it to be. And we turn that up, turn off what we've done already, rotate, turn back what we've done, and replace. Moving on, green. Here's one that's already basically in position, so we just turn that up and we're ready. So we go up, turn off, place, turn back, replace, and it really is that quick. It's no big deal. This one's here, so I can just turn that around where it needs to be. So here we go, up, turn off, place, turn back on, replace. Next one. Here's a purple, so let's move it around to there. Up, turn off, place, turn on, replace. And let's get another one. There's one here, I suppose that's as good as any. Where do I need it to be? Let's just have a think. Move it around to there, and I've probably gone the complete long way home here, but that's okay. We'll get there in the end. My goodness, that is the scenic route. Okay, turn up. Turn these off. Turn our piece on. Turn them back. Put it down. I think that's 4 that we've done. Yep, so we've done our blue, red, green, purple. Again, ignore the fact that that centre's there, doesn't matter. Final ones are the yellow ones, so where are they? Here's one. So let's whack that up there. And quickly place these ones in exactly the same manner. Here's the first. And here's another one. It's nice, that's nice and simple. And I can just see things aren't aligned here, so give me a second. I'll get that correctly aligned. Turn that off. And done. And of course, if you're not doing it for a video, you can probably do it quicker than what I'm doing it. And that's good. And you can see now, you can see that the colours of the face is starting to build up. And there is a very good reason why we're not doing this stuff now. We're actually going to next do these edges. The edges are nearly as simple as this. We've just got to think a little bit smarter about them. So what I want to do with the edges is just find an edge that goes on one of these. So a blue edge or a red edge or whatever. And I'm going to start by finding one that's not already down here in the wrong position. So let's find this red yellow. Now I want to put it down here, and the first thing I've got to do is figure out, does the red yellow go here or does it go here? And the way to do that is to think, if it went here and that was red yellow, red pale yellow, there must be a green pale yellow piece. But if it goes over here, then there must be a blue pale yellow piece. So which do I have? I've got a green pale yellow, you can see it there, which means that that must be green pale yellow, that must be red pale yellow. And so this piece is in its correct position. If I turned that down, that would be exactly where it needed to go. So once we've got it ready to turn down, this is what we do. We turn it up onto the upper face so it's sort of on the opposite side of where it needs to go. Now what we're going to do is move its position up. We're then going to turn the bits that we've done off, and in this case we don't care about these bits, so well, certainly this bit so much. What we care about is these bits, and so we're going to turn them off like that, and then we're going to turn that around to place our piece, turn back those bits that we just protected and turn it back down, and I'm sure you'll agree that's fairly simple. Let's place that red yellow piece. Now I can do them in any order, but I normally like to try and work my way around the puzzle, so I'll probably do that here unless I've got a piece that I need that's stuck in here. I'll just take it out with another one. So I find the piece that I need, and this time it's a green yellow, and I put it so that it's in the correct position. So you can see that if that turns down, that is oriented correctly. The green does go on this face, so that's good. So you remember the routine. I've got it there and I turn it off towards the other side like that. Now turn position up, remove the pieces that I want to protect, put on my edge, return those pieces and put it down. And you can see clearly that nothing that we've done previously has been affected by this. So what's next? Well, the other green piece, and that's sitting over here. So it must, once we've got one of them done, we don't really have to think too much about what's going on. So I move this around and I see that we've got a problem, because if I try and turn that down, the green is on the wrong side, so that's misoriented. So when that happens, what I've got to do is I've actually got to turn it up to the upper face. You'll get used to this. Now I can't just turn it around and back down, because it's not going to do anything. I've got to move it around my upper face. Remember, this is my upper face, so I just turn that around bit by bit until it comes to here, and then when I turn it back around you can see that the orientation of that piece has changed, and so that's now exactly where it should be. So having done that, I now turn that up as per normal, put its position up, remove my pieces, turn it in. Should have an extra step, align, and then return. So next I'd be looking at this, and I've got a light blue purple that I need to do, and that's sitting here. But once again you can already see that that's oriented incorrectly, so I need to take it up to the upper face and turn it round that upper face until I bring it back, and again just getting it aligned, and you can see that now that is correctly aligned. So I'll put it over to the other side, turn up the position, take away the protected pieces, turn it on, put them back, down we go. Next we've got purple, the other purple, which will be purple orange, so here it is. So let's check. No, that's aligned or oriented wrongly, so we turn it up. Actually, just to show, it doesn't matter which way we turn it up, so I'll turn it up to the left this time and move it round, and you can see now that that is correctly oriented. So up, position up, pieces off, into position, pieces on, down. I don't know what else to say, that's it. Next one, if that's a purple orange, this must be an orange yellow. So where is our orange yellow? There it is. Let's firstly, that's the wrong way, let's take it this way and see. Yep, that's correctly oriented. So by now you're getting to know the drill, so I probably don't need to say much. What have I done? I've done something incredibly stupid, I think. Let's have a look. Let's first of all get that out of the way. Well, I'd love to say this is live TV, but it's not TV. Alright, let's start again. I can see what I've done. I've said it was oriented correctly, and it's not oriented correctly, so please excuse my stupidity. Let's take it around the top face, and here we go. I guess at least you get the truth in this video. Now we've got it oriented correctly, so now I can do this and it'll actually look like it works. Down we go. Okay, we've probably done about half of them, so what I'll do now is just speed up a little bit and not say too much, place a few of the rest of them. Where have we got to get to? We've done up to that red, yellow, so 1, 2, 3, 4 to go. So let's go for the next yellow. Here it is. I want to go a bit faster, but I'm aware of not causing pieces to come out. So that's the green, so I'm looking for another green, not a green-grey, because in my case the grey is opposite the white. Here it is, it's the green-blue. So we'll bring that around. I'm getting good at this and I can tell that that is correctly oriented, so let's go ahead and place that. Must be three, no, just 2 to go. So got the other blue, which is here, so let's see if that's correct. Yeah, that's correct. And I suppose the thing that I like about this method of placing these edges is I don't have to think any differently for the last edge. I don't have to think that I've got to sort of be a bit more careful about the ones I've already done, because they're not going to be affected. The only thing that I do have to think sometimes is this, and I've got the edge in position but not oriented. Now, there's no great algorithm for it. All we want to do is pretend that we've got one up here, carry out the same routine, put this down there, and what that'll do is move that edge out of position so that we're ready to then put it where we need to. Now we can see that's not oriented correctly, so let's take that around the upper face. Which way are we going to go? There we go. Now that's ready. And we can go ahead and put it back in. So again, I apologise if that's a little bit rushed, but that is all of those, I guess, middle equator edges done. Now, the final stage of this part of the solve is to place these last bits here. And what we're going to do, you'll notice that each of the bits is made up of, we can think of it as made up of a petal and a triangle. So if I cut it off there, you can see a petal and a triangle. Also, if I cut it off there, you can see a centre and a triangle. So we're going to make a petal triangle thing, we're going to make a centre triangle thing, we're then going to join them together to make a whole thing, and then we're going to place it. So as I look up here, I see that there is already a red centre and triangle, so that's good. I'll just leave that there for the moment, and I'll go about finding, because there's now only one, there's only 2 triangles left, and I've used one of them there, so there can only possibly be one more red triangle floating around. So there it is there. So what I'm going to do is firstly, I guess, get my petal up into position. So it's down in a pretty awkward position at the moment, and so when I need to move it, I can just do an edge piece series, so it'll move it around to there, and then I'll put it up here. So for example, what I can do is this to here, and then this will come around, and then I'll undo those turns, and what you'll see is that nothing that we've done has been affected, and the edges are all still there. That's fine. Now we've got the petal here, and we've got this triangle, and you know from previously that we can move a triangle around a centre in stages of 2. So this petal's here, so I could put this triangle here or here, so obviously the choice is to move it here. I want to move it 2 clockwise, so I'm going to have to move this triangle on 2 vertices anti-clockwise. So what I'll do is firstly get this thing out of the way, because I don't want to disturb what I've already done. And what that may mean initially is doing some sort of move which will just put it over here, and maybe, in fact, I'll put it around here and then turn it off over that side. So I just want to protect that, put it out of the way. So let's get that back there now. And I needed to move 2 clockwise, so I'll now move I'll try going anti-clockwise on one, and then again I want to go anti-clockwise up to where it needs to be. But because I don't want to turn the petal out the way, I first, in fact, yeah, I'll turn it up there and you'll see what I'm talking about. If I turn it up there, it's in position, but I've obviously got rid of that petal. So generally what I'm going to do here is, having done that, I then say, well, I want to put the petal back there without disturbing that. So I'm just going to turn it off using that, put back my petal, and then turn back my triangle. And that's created that little pair and that little pair. And I can now think about joining those together. So I guess the first thing I'm going to do is just put that there and think to myself, well, if I want to join these, this petal triangle thing is here. I need the triangle centre to be in that position. So at the moment you can see that it's not in that position. It needs to go one to the right. We know that we can't move it by ones. We need to move it by twos. So I've got to go 2 anti-clockwise, 2 anti-clockwise, which means I'm going to be turning my faces clockwise. So one clockwise and another clockwise, and that's moved it from there around to there. And now we'll go again. One clockwise. Now you'll see straight away there's a problem here because it's put that red out of this orbit. So instead of turning that one clockwise, I'll turn another one clockwise. I'll turn this one clockwise. One clockwise and another clockwise. And I'm fairly sure we'll find that that's exactly where we need it. In order to put it with this, I do the same trick as I did before. Turn that off, my petal back there, and turn that on, and you can see that's now joined. Alright, that's the hard part. The easy part's putting it in. And if we think about how I'm going to do this, if I turn that up, remember that now that I've turned that up, I've left this little red triangle here. That part now attaches to this little triangle, and that forms my complete petal thingo. And that means that this is going to come from here, from this position. So I need to place this part in that position before I start. So I think, how can I do that? And this is the nice thing about not having that little triangle attached. I can turn it like that, and now I can just turn that up. And notice that if I had a red triangle attached, then I wouldn't be able to do this. It would break that attachment. So now that I've got that in that position, I'm going to turn that up. I'm now going to carry out an ordinary edge piece series that moves this to here, this to here. So away we go. And that's put it in, and now we can turn it back down, and you can see that red face is completely done. And of course all the edges are exactly the same. So this is probably I guess the longest stage of this lower half, is getting these things together, because it just takes a little bit of manoeuvring of the triangles most of the time. So let's have a think. Let's attach this centre for the green to this triangle. I know that I can move that centre up there, and it doesn't matter, as long as the green triangle is somewhere here, it's good. So why don't we place that green, in fact, let's be smarter. Let's move, can I be smarter? I probably can't actually. No, let's not be smarter, let's just do it normally. I'll try and move that triangle around to there, because then I can just turn this centre up and it won't affect it. So I want to move it 2 anti-clockwise, which means I'm turning my faces both clockwise. So let's try the first one. If I turn this clockwise and then that clockwise, that has put it where I need it, and I can now just turn that centre up and it's attached, which is good. So now I'm just going to store that over here somewhere. Perhaps I'll do it around this side because that's too close to this green one. I've got the green petal and I've got this green triangle here. So let's firstly put the petal up to the top. So I'm probably going to move it just up to there. And you'll notice this is good because turning that sort of thing doesn't affect the edges that we've already done. So if I was to turn that around, I can see that I need my triangles to go in one of these 2 positions. Where is my green triangle? Here it is at the moment. If I just turn that up, it's not quite in those 2 positions, but I know that I can get it there with the double move. So what I might do is firstly I'm just a little bit annoyed that these two are both here, but let's just forget about that for the moment. I want to turn it anti-clockwise, so I need to do 2 clockwise face turns. What I'm going to do, in actual fact, is just get this back over here. And we can do this by turning a green triangle out of the way, just for a minute, putting that back over here so it's sort of on the back face, putting the green triangle back. Okay, that's out of the picture. Now I need to move this green up to here, so let's turn 2 faces clockwise. So there's one and there's the second. It's just, once you see how this works, it's actually really nice, very simple to understand what's going on. I want to attach it to the petal, and so I'm going to turn that off, bring the petal around, turn it back on, and that's joined. Now I've just got to join that to that. So again, I can see that it's here, and I need my corner center bit to be there. So let's see where it lands. That's landed there, which means I need to move it 1 around, which of course means 2 that way and 2 that way, both times clockwise movement. So our vertex movement will be both anti-clockwise. So let's do the first one, anti-clockwise, anti-clockwise. Let's do the second one. We'll see if this works. Anti-clockwise, anti-clockwise. It's almost too easy. Having done that, I simply need to turn that off, put my petal there, turn it back on, and that's done. And I can now go ahead and place that green, and you know I need to get it into which position? That position there. So that means it's got to be over here, or it's got to come from there. So how can I do that? I'll move it firstly to here, and then I'll turn it to this part, and then turn it across to there, and there it is in position. So having done that, I can now carry out the same set of moves. Come on. And complete that, move it back down, and the green face is done. Now the purple's a bit of a problem because the centre's in here, so I'll come back to that. I think I can do it now. Maybe I'll need to, no, stuff it, I'll get it out now. Okay, so to get it out, I just want to turn that up and move it out as I would normally do, and so I might as well do that, and probably I can see what I've just done, have I? That was really stupid because I've put one back in. Again, I wish I could say live TV, but I can't. Let's get this just out of the way. Let's do that again, and okay. That is better. Now I've got no purples in there. Alright, let's do some matching. So the first thing, let's match the centre. Oh, very nice. So that centre and triangle is done. Let's now, I guess, put that down there, and we've got the triangle on the petal sitting here. So I've just got to make sure I keep my widths. Here's the bottom, so this is now on the top face. If I was to turn this, where would this triangle land? There. And I need it. You can see that I actually do need it to land there, which is good. Oh, sorry. No, sorry, it's wrong. It needs to go there, but that's okay. So let's now consider moving it to there means moving it around clockwise twice and then clockwise again. So my face turns, or my vertex turns, will be anti-clockwise. So there's one of them, and that's moved it 2 that way. Move it 2 again. Sorry, just thinking this one through, and I'm looking at this going, how is that going to work? But we'll see how we go. Yeah. In fact, I think it's going to be easier looking at this. If I turn that like that, I want it in one of these positions. So let's get it 2 back that way. So we'll do a clockwise couple of turns and put it there. I like that much better. We'll now turn that off, put the petal in position, and turn that back. And that's created the 2 bits that I need. And I've got a feeling that this might actually be very nicely aligned now. Yep, good. So we've got the petal part here, we've got the center part here. I want to turn that up, and I can do that. It displaces that petal, so I just want to turn that off while I put the petal back. And that's completed that purple center, so we can now go ahead and place that. I need to get it in this position, so we'll carry out something similar to what we did before. Where have we got to go? Probably that one there. Here we go. So moving its position up now and placing that. Once again, an annoying alignment issue. So that's 3 of these faces done. We've got the yellow and the blue to go. Let's do the yellow next. So there's my petal, there's my center, and there's one yellow triangle there. Where's the other one? Ah, here. Okay. Alright, well let's firstly, why don't we place this triangle up with this petal, and I see that at this time it's there, and so it needs to move 2 around, and so what I'll do is just put it back down there and move the petal off. Now you know that to move 2 around clockwise I've got to do some anti-clockwise turns, so let's do that one and then that one. Now why did that not work? Probably because it was exactly the same face. That's really smart. Let's do this one, and again I can see that that's put it outside the orbit, so I'll just keep thinking it through and trying one that works. Now I think in this case, if I did do that one, then I would be able to do this one. That's better. Now I think this is where I got a little put out before, because that's moved that petal. So I'm just going to, I think what I'm going to do is put that petal out of the way so that that doesn't confuse me. So that's now in position, and I want to put the petal back here. I can turn the triangle off, put the petal on, turn the triangle on, and that's created that little pair there. And now I need to do this center with that triangle. Right, now that's the upper face, so I probably want to store the petal somewhere out of the way. So let's just do that for a start. Now let's have a look. This center can just go straight up there. So if I put that center up there, I would like to turn the triangle back to there. So to do that, I will turn the center off, put the triangle back, put the center back, and that's done. And all I need to do now is join them. Now let's have a look. If I have this petal turned there, you can see that I need the triangle and the center to be in that position. So at the moment it's that position. I need it to go there, so I've got to do around twice, around twice. Again, the piece movement is clockwise, so the vertex movement will be anti-clockwise. There's one anti-clockwise. Where's the other one that I'm going to do? Now I'll just turn that one, so I don't like that little turn there. Let's try another one. This one and that one. That's better. And let's go again. This time let's try this one. No, still don't like that. So I'm going to do this one and then that one. Now that's something's gone a bit strange there. Yeah, actually, no, that was right, I think. Anti-clockwise, anti-clockwise. My brain has just switched off. Okay, that's good. That's in position. And so if we want to place it with this petal, so we can now turn that off, put the petal back, and join it. And that creates a yellow. Let's go and place that. So we want to have that here. So I'm just going to turn it down and rotate, and that's now in position, which means we can go ahead and place. Now I should just point out, you probably just saw a little piece come out there. That was part of the jumbling. I'm not addressing jumbling at all in this tutorial. I don't intend to, because I don't think it really adds anything to the puzzle as such. I don't think it does anything different such as on the helicopter cube, so go ahead and jumble it if you like, but this one won't address that. Okay, now let's do the final one. We've got our triangle and petal, and we've got a triangle in here, so we need to get that out. So let's firstly get that stuff out of the way, and let's get this triangle out of the way as well. So what we'll do is something like that. So we've freed them all up. Now what can we attach? Well, we can see that this triangle can come up here, and that'll be nicely with that centre. So probably I think what I would try and do at this stage, because I can't just turn that centre off like that. What I can do, let's have a think. Sometimes I have to think, so I do apologise. No, I don't like that either. I guess what I'm normally thinking about is, can I turn this off? But of course that won't do anything. Normally I'd turn it off like this, but it's going to move that triangle. So the other thing that I can do is, now that that triangle is there, turn that off. Let's see if this works. Will that work? No, I don't think it will. So just bear with me here. I'll just get my brain working again. No, I don't think I'm going to leave that and come back to it. And sometimes this happens. You're better off just going to some other part. So look, let's attach this petal with this triangle. So I can see that the petal will be there, and so the triangle, if I can make that go 2 around clockwise, that'll then attach. So to get it going 2 clockwise, I want to turn my face anti-clockwise. So on my vertex there's one anti-clockwise turn, and another anti-clockwise would put it up into that position, which it does. Now it's pushed the petal off, so we'll just move it out, petal back, triangle back, and we've done it. Okay, so I've done that, and I can sort of put that out of the way. Now let's go and attack these ones. What have we got? We've got that, and the triangle was already there. So I guess what I'm thinking now is that I can turn that off, move my triangle up, and you can see what I mean. Watching this at home, you might have seen exactly what I needed to do before, but my brain didn't see it, and so just going on to something else and coming back to this is sometimes the best thing to do. So that's now made both of them. Let's pair them up. I can see that they're there, so I need the triangle centre to be in that position. Where is it? There. So I need to go around twice, anti-clockwise, and twice again, which means I'm talking about clockwise movement of these vertices. So there's one lot of them. Let's do this again. Let's see if I can do it again. One, and that's now put that triangle outside the orbit, so that's not a good face to turn. So another face to turn would be, another vertex to turn would be this one here. So I go clockwise and then clockwise, and that's now put it in the correct position. And so to join them up, I'll just turn that off, put my petal back, join them up, we're done. And notice that all this time it hasn't affected any of these other edges, and that's now landed in exactly the right position to go ahead and place this. So let's do that. And that's now done, and we've completed the lower half. If you've watched all of this video, congratulations, thank you very much, I really appreciate it. I've managed to finish, I think, just under an hour. Alrighty, well at this stage of the solve we've done our first face, and we've completed all of these lower face colours, so they're all done. So we're only left with these last 6 faces here to do, and you can see it's looking better because we've only got 6 colours now on these faces because we've taken care of all of these. The next 2 stages are fairly straightforward. The last stage is going to be a little trickier, but this stage that I'm going to do now is placing the rest of the edges, and the edges just respond to normal 1-1 commutators or edge piece series, whatever you want to call them. And so for example, I could move this edge to here and this edge to here by carrying out something like that. And that's just cycled those edges. That's all it's going to do. It's also going to move around these petals, so that's why we're going to do this first, and then we'll deal with the petals later. So the way I normally do the edges is to complete say 3 of these around the middle, which will leave me 2 here, and then I'll go and try and do some of the top ones and then finish off over here. The finishing off is normally the hardest part of this stage. So the first thing I want to do is look for one that's not grey, in my case. And here I've got an orange-blue edge, so I'm thinking that if I turn it here and turn it into the orange-blue position, and by the way, I'm looking at colours based on these edges here, not based on the centres. That can be very, very confusing. It's exactly right at the moment, but that's nothing to do with it. So because that's oriented incorrectly, I want to turn it up and move it round the top of the puzzle, and when I bring it back, that'll now be correctly oriented. So that's one that I've placed. I'll then try and do one here or one here. So let's have a look for an orange-green. Here's the edges, so orange-green edge. Here it is up the top. So I'll just turn it around any old way at the moment and see if that is correct, and in this case that is, and we've placed the orange-green edge. Let's go for the green-blue edge, wherever that is. If it's easy enough. If it's not, we'll do something else. I can't even see it, maybe it doesn't exist. You know why it doesn't exist? Because I've just said green-blue, and that's actually pink. Green-pink would be a good one to look for. There it is there. Okay. My blonde moment is over. We'll turn it around here and put it sort of into the position. So we can see now that, again, that's going to be oriented wrongly, and in order to deal with that, I want to take it round the top face, and because I've already placed these two, I'm just going to have to be aware that I'm going to need to put them back once I've moved this. So I move this where I want it. Now note that I've moved that one out of position. Now I'm going to move it across to here, and in doing that I've also moved that one out of position. So once I move it across again, I now want to put back these edges that I just moved out of position. So just make sure I keep them there, and now I can go ahead and continue moving the desired edge to where it should be. That is a green-pink edge. Now we've done 1, 2, 3 of them, so that leaves these two here plus some on the top. Look, it happens that the grey-yellow is placed, so if I can I'll leave that. Here I've got a grey-blue next to where it needs to go, so that's not always helpful. So let's see what else we've got. We've got a grey-green next to where it needs to go, not helpful. And we've got a grey-pink, where does that need to go? Over here, and that's also not helpfully positioned. So none of this stuff is helpful at the moment. I guess that's good. Let's place the grey-orange. Let's look to place the grey-orange. So I'm going to move that. Remember, these edges, middle edges, are not done. So I can just turn that as I like at the moment. And because that is 2 around from where it needs to be, I know that I can just turn it like that and turn it like that. And that has now been placed. And that's matching those edges. What I'd like to do next, because these are the 2 that I've got left, is to try and place this grey-green. Now, if I tried the same thing by moving that up there, because the grey is there, when I try and turn it over it's oriented wrongly. So what I'm going to do instead is move it around this side of the puzzle, and now I know that I've already placed the grey-orange, but you can see now that the grey-green is 2 around from where it needs to go, and it is correctly oriented. So that's at least a good thing. Now what I'm going to do is what we've done here, let's just have a double check of which edges I've actually done. So I'm just going to make sure that I don't take some. I think I've taken one out that I should have done. That one was there, that one was there. Where's my blue-orange edge? That's gone here. So I think I've dealt with that in the green, placing that grey-green edge, so I've just put that back. I guess that's a good thing to be aware of, that it's probably a little bit easy to get lost in that. So they're all back now. So having dealt with that, I'm now back to where I was, and I'm looking at these 2 saying that I need to get that grey-green over to there. Now, because I want to place the grey-green onto that piece, if I turn this piece around to there, now when I do the grey to there, that grey is going to go to the blue position, and when I turn that back, that blue position will be on top. So that'll be exactly where I want it. And the other good thing is, in doing that, I'm not concerned about disturbing something that might have already been here. So I'm going to use this piece, and this piece for my edge piece series. So this to here, this to here. So away we go. Remember, I'm looking down at the top face now. And that's completed that. And now when I turn this back, the grey-green has placed itself. And just checking, I've got these three middle edges that are now at the back, they're still in position. So that's a good thing. I've got my grey-green edge placed. Now I've probably knocked out that grey-orange from somewhere, so I can place that back, and the way I'll do that is another edge piece series, and I know that I can use this one, and this one. So let's turn that to there, this one around, and undo those moves. And so if I take stock and have a look where I am, I've got 1, 2, 3 of those middle edges done, and I've got these 2 upper edges at the back. And that leaves me these 3 upper edges and these 2 middle ones. So the next step would be to try and place probably one of these upper edges. So let's see if anything lends itself to being placed. That grey-yellow can certainly go here, so that's possible. I've also got a grey-blue which I'd like to place here, but it's in the wrong position, and my grey-pink is in position but misoriented. So let's place the grey-yellow at the moment, just to get one of these things placed. So I'll just carry out that sort of thing. And let's place that. And that leaves me with 1, 2, 3, 4 that I need to deal with. The next step is to place any of the other ones of them. So it could be a middle edge, it could be a top edge, it doesn't matter. The grey-blue isn't going to go easily. The pink-yellow probably will, because if I look at where that is, I can see that if I turn that down there and then down there, that has now correctly placed. So that means if I can set that up to avoid using this piece, that will work quite nicely. And I know that this piece is also unused at the moment, so what I can do is turn that around to there to start with, and now use these 3 pieces, and it won't disturb, it'll put this where it needs to be, and it won't disturb this one. So let's go ahead and do that. And you remember we turned this around, so we're just going to turn that back to finish it, and that's left that where it should be, it's left this where it should be. We've got that in position. We've now got, in fact, that grey-pink in position but flipped, and this grey-blue in position but flipped. Now, if we get to this point, what we really want to do is take both of these out of position, and we just do that by some sort of edge piece series involving those 2 pieces and one other piece. And in this case, I've used the middle piece here. So now these 3 are the ones that need to be done. Now, we're down to sort of our end game of the edges, and so what we need to think about is which colour needs to go where. If I consider this, I've got a grey-yellow piece that needs to go to this position. It needs to go to the grey-pink. I hope you can understand that. I've got the grey colour that needs to go to that grey colour. So I think grey-yellow needs to go to grey-pink. Well, that's good, because that's exactly where that's going to turn so far. Then I consider the grey-pink. The grey-pink needs to go to blue-grey. Now that's not so good, because if I just turn that around, the grey is going to land on that other grey, which is not what I want. So I'm thinking these 2 are okay. I need to get this flipped so that I can carry out my edge piece series. So I think, how do I flip a piece? Well, what I want to do, and I remember that grey-yellow goes to grey-pink, goes to blue-grey. So I want to be able to turn that grey piece onto the blue piece. So what I'm going to do is turn it round these faces like this. and I'll just keep going. Now you might think, that's ridiculous, how are you going to ever get that stuff back? Well, it's actually pretty easy, and I'll show you what to do in a minute. The good thing, if you remember, is that I said this grey piece needs to turn onto the blue, and we're now in a position to do that, because if I turn that grey down to here, that will turn to where that blue piece is. So we're now in a position to carry out this to here, and cycle those three edges around. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'll just point out, you'll notice a dark blue triangle has come up, but it's about to go back, so that's no big deal. Now we've actually carried out the final cycle that we needed, and you can see that the grey blue piece is in position. You can also see the grey yellow is in position. So the only thing left is to move this piece back to where it should be. Now all you need to do is just look and say, where do the colours need to go? So the first thing is these reds, I'm thinking, well, they need to go there, and then this red obviously needs to come over here, and then this blue needs to come over to here. So I've now remade all of those bottom parts. Now I'll just look up to the top and see whether the edges are right, and you can see that the two greys need to be on the top, so I'll turn them, and that's now placed all of our edges, and that means they're complete, and it means we're now onto the next stage, which will be the petals. Well, this stage of the solve, we've got our bottom face completely done, we've got our lower faces done, and on the upper faces we've got all of the edges in position, so this top face as well as these upper equator edges here. So what we're going to do now is place the petals. We're going to still forget about the centres and the triangles up here, just place the petals, and the first type of petal will be this one, which already is placed in that position. So that's the type we're trying to do. And we just think about the orbits that they're in, and this one comes from here, which comes from here. So if we've got a piece in that position or that position, that's good, but alternately it could come from this direction. So anything back here is good, and anything on the side is good. So if we go and try and place a pink, we can see that there is a pink back here, which means I can now just move the position upwards, align it, turn that down, put it back, and just make sure I complete the full edge piece series there, and that pink is in. Next one is the yellow, and at this point I've got no yellows up here, I've got no yellows in a nice position here, but one thing I can do, I want a yellow to be here, and I see that one's there, so I can, as a setup, just turn that vertex like that, and that'll now allow me to have that yellow in the correct position. And so now I can go ahead and do the same thing. And you can see that even though these bottom faces come up, it doesn't actually affect anything there. The only thing I need to remember is any setup moves that I did, put them back. And so in this case I've got, this was turned, so I've got to unturn that. So the next one around is the blue, and this time we do have a blue in this position, so we're going to use that and go ahead and place that blue. There we go. And it looks like the final one to do, and did I have a setup? No, I didn't. So the final one to do is an orange here, and so here's our oranges. So none of these two are in a particularly good position, but this one's okay. This one again can be turned off like that so that it's ready to come down to this spot, and that's what we'll do now. Do apologise, I'll go the other way. There we go. And that's now placed, and always checking any setup moves, return them. So you can see that the edges are still in place, and we've placed all of these bottom petals here. So the next step is to place this type of petal. Same sort of technique. This time we're looking for our desired colour. Since it's got to go here, it's got to start here or here, which means if I have one in any of these three positions, I can do a setup move. Sometimes if it's in one of these positions, or this and which one? This and this, I can do a setup move depending on if it affects others. So for this green one, none of these are particularly helpful at the moment, so what I'm going to do is move these green ones somewhere else, somewhere that's more helpful. And I can see that probably the best one is this one here, which can come up to that position. So I'm just going to do a sequence which will move this one to here, and then it'll also involve this piece. And the reason that's okay is because it's an upper piece on that face, so that won't affect anything. So that's just like a setup sequence to get that into a nice position, and now I can go ahead and cycle that into place. There we go, that's those two greens done. Did I have a setup move? No, they all look good. Moving along, I've got a couple of pinks to fill here, and I've got one pink that's in a nice position, so we'll go ahead and place that one. That's done, and I now need to consider this pink here. And again, I'm looking for it to be in this position or this position, and both of these, in fact all three of these pinks are in horrible positions, so again I'm going to have to do some kind of setup move to get it where I want it. So probably at this stage I'm thinking that I'd like to get it to around here. So I think what I'll do is, let's just have a double think here. Yeah, I'll go to here and then come over to here. So I'll put it on this position there. That'll work. So I'll move that up. And this is just the setup, of course, to get it where I need it. And I'm trying to place the pink over here. And so as long as I turn this pink over to here, that's now in a nice position to do that. And of course it's going to also involve this piece, but it's on an upper part of that face, so that's fine. So now away I go. And when I put it back, yep, determined to get that one back. Undoing setup moves, and that will put that pink back, and all is well. So that's the two greens done and the two pinks. Now I've got a yellow in place already, so now try and do this other yellow, and thankfully this is in a nice position, so away we go. You can just see that's not quite aligned there, so just trying to get that. This will probably trap me for the next 5 minutes while I try and figure that one out. No, there we go. Now I'm just going to check, yep, that's fine. And that's placed that one there. Okay, couple of oranges, couple of blues to go, and again we've got a blue. This normally happens that there's normally quite a number that are already in the correct position, so I'm not getting too lucky here. And I'm feeling it jam there, so I'm going to go the other way. And what have I done? What's happened there? I went one too far. Okay, so that's in, and now I'm looking at this one here. So again, we don't have a blue that's in a nice position here or here, which means I need to put one there. So just thinking that one through, if I'd like to get a blue here, there's one over here that I can use to help me achieve that. So I just do a setup sequence to put that one where I need it, like that. And now I can do a similar sequence to place this blue down into that position. And those two are done. And lastly, the two oranges, and let's have a look where they are. So this time I've got an orange which is in that position, so that one could cycle through to that position like that. So let's do that one first. There's one of them placed, and now the other one. We want it to be there or around here, and again none of them are particularly in a good position. However, I can see that if I had it there, that would help, and I've got an orange that's over here which could be cycled to there. So that's what I'm going to do first. So that's now ready to place down here. Alright, so again, this being the bottom face, you can see that as we turn the puzzle around, all of these bottom ones and these lower ones here are placed. Some of the centres are placed, but that's irrelevant at the moment, which means that we've only got these last two on each of these faces to place, and obviously once we've placed all them, these green ones will automatically be placed. Now the only difference with placing these upper ones is that instead of going with these lower ones, we're sort of going snaking across like this. With the upper ones, because we don't want to touch any of the lower ones that we've done, we want to do stuff like going from here across to here and then across to here. So we're keeping everything on the upper region. So I guess the first thing I'd look for is, if I want an orange to go here, I'd like it to be here or here. Now it happens that I can turn this vertex here to place one of those two oranges in that position, and this is my other piece that I need, and this is my other one. So that's all I needed to do for a setup, and now I cycle this to here, and this will go back here. So let's do that. And what you can see is that's placed that one. It's put this one back. It hasn't touched these bottom ones. It's put all the edges back. And of course any setups that I need to undo, I remember to do. Now, if the other orange one's nice, I'll do it. And in fact it is nice because I want it to go here. So I think that will come from there. And then that will come from there. And that orange is in perfect position. So all I need to do is cycle that one home, and my orange petals are done. Let's have a look at the greens, see if they are useful. I don't really like them at this stage, I'm going to ignore them. This one here, I'd like a pink to go here, let's say, and so I'd like it to be here to start with. Now because it's going there, there and here, I just need to check whether that's already been done, and that grey one hasn't, so that's good. I can use that one. So I'll set up my pink, and I'll go ahead and use that grey to put my pink into place, like so. And again, make sure I undo my setup moves. Next thing, I'll look for this pink, and I see that I don't like the fact that it's over there, so I'm just going to ignore it again. Next one, looking at the yellows, and the yellows are pretty much exactly the same as these greens. So for now I'm ignoring them. I'm probably going to have to not ignore them in a minute. And we'll try and do this blue, see where that is. So the blue at the moment is in the wrong position. I don't like that at all. So let's see if we can get it to where I need it to be. And we can with a little setup. I'd like it to be, because I'm going from here, it's going to come from this, which is going to come from this. I'd like it to be in that position, if I could. So what I do is I think that that blue could travel to here, which could travel to here. Now, the only problem that I have is that position is already done. So that's where I start thinking, maybe not so good. The other issue is that I could cycle it around like that and put it in that position, which is not yet done, and in fact that's what I'm going to do. So the first thing is we'll move that blue over to here, and if you haven't followed that why I'm doing this, you'll see very, very soon. So I've got that blue over to here. Now remember that I need to place it here, and that means it's coming from there, and of course now I can just turn that blue around like that, and that's in the position where I need it to be. So away I go. And having done that, you can now start to see that the undoing the setups has become simpler, because you can see exactly where the colours need to go. You don't really need to look at the edges too much. So those blues are done, oranges are done. I've got these two greens that I ignored, a couple of yellows that I ignored, but you can see that one of the greens has changed position, which is what I was hoping. So the pink again is not in a nice position. Let's see if, yep, now I've managed to get one of the greens into a good place. So I'm going to try and put it here, and we know that that will come from there, which will come from there, and so that's perfectly placed. So we can now go ahead and place our first green. Good, and again I look to see whether the other green's good. It's not, so I'll have a look at the pink, and I don't think the pink's very good. I don't like it. So it looks like I'm going to be forced to do a little bit of a setup sequence, nothing major. So let's have a think about how I could achieve getting this pink into a position that I want it. Let's first of all, and I don't really care, by the way, if I take a few more moves to do these things. I'm just interested at the moment in getting it somewhere else. So at this stage, I think what I'm going to do is just move it up to this position if I can. And in fact, I've just worked out that we can actually do this in one hit. I want to put that pink into here. That pink will travel there, and it could also then travel down to that position. And so all I need to do is turn that as a setup move onto that position, and that's now exactly where that pink will go. So let's now carry out that sequence, and then putting back our colours, and you can see it's placed, I think it was that pink that we did. So there we go, which means I've got the two yellows and I've got this green. Let's have a look at the, see if we can have a look at the green perhaps. I know that the green needs to go here, so that means it's going to come from here and then here. So I want to put the green over on that position if I can. Now at the moment, that green will cycle to there. If therefore I turn that around to here first, I can put the green there. So for instance, I can turn that and the green's now going to go there. The problem with that is that I've already done the blue, so that's no good. So because I don't want to use that blue, I'm actually going to put the green into this grey position. So I'm going to turn it like that. Now I just need to then see what it's going to go to. The other piece that's involved is a grey, which is good, and that's fine. So firstly I'll carry that out. Like so, and then undo that setup move, and you can see that I've got the green over here. Now think to myself, going into there, it comes from here and it comes from there, so I need to turn this green piece around to there so that that is in the right position for me to do this. Now I can put that grey up to there, move the green onto it, and undo those turns. And that's placed our greens. That means the only two petals left are these yellow petals. So the first thing I'll do is note that this goes from there, so I can get this yellow petal in if I just turn it round to that position and then cycle it in like this, making sure that everything is, oh, see that little sticker's just come off. Wow, this is live TV. Let's see if we can get that. I think I've just stuck it to my finger. I'll just undo that. I'll turn that back and make sure that I've got the sequence done. That's at least placed it. And I'm actually going to put that down and attempt, this is nigh impossible by the way, attempt to get that sticker. Oh, I have to say I'm pretty impressed. Okay. Now, one last yellow to go. So this yellow here needs to go here. I'm cycling from this direction. So at the moment, what I'm going to try and do is put the yellow onto this grey piece. So I think, can I do that? If I was to turn that grey piece around there, the yellow can go there, but what else happens? There's nothing here that I can turn. There's nothing that I can use. There's no pieces that I can use. So I've got to be a little bit smarter and say that, how do I turn this around and still keep that grey piece there? So what I'm going to do is actually do a 3-move setup to maintain that grey piece exactly where it is. So I'll turn that face, then turn that grey piece and turn that face back. And that retains a grey there for me to use, because remember I'm trying to place the yellow to here, which means I need a grey over here. So now I can turn that grey around and away we go. The puzzle's a mess, that's okay. The only thing I need to do is remember to undo whatever those setup moves were, so that's one of them. And I think I moved this down here, that up to there, and that there, and that was a successful undoing. And so now I've got this just where I need it. So all I need to do now is note that it's coming to here, so that needs to be turned around. And we have one last sequence to carry out, like so. Let's place that yellow, I undo my setup move, and you can see that all of the petals are done. Well, on this last stage of this Rex dodecahedron, the first little tiny bit is to deal with the centres. So just to catch up, we've got a complete lower half of the puzzle done, and we've got everything on the upper half done except for the centres and the triangles. So the centres are the easy bit, so we're going to solve them first. And we are actually going to use a corner piece series, which is good. So the way the corner piece series works on this is we hold the puzzle like this, and instead of being able to turn a face, which we obviously can't, we turn vertices, but we're going to call this one here the upper face. So if I turn that, that's an upper face turn, and so when I turn this, that is a right face turn, and right face clockwise turn, etc. So we're just going to be turning that face, and that face. And I'll actually do it on a solved piece, and you can see exactly what happens. So all of this stuff is solved. So we'll see what's going to happen if we upper face turn and then right face. So it's not the vertex that's directly connected to that one, it's the vertex that's two over. So that's a right face turn, upper face again, and left face, and upper face and right back towards us, upper face and left. Now that is exactly the corner piece series on a standard Rubik's Cube, except that it's using these vertices. And if we look at what's happened, we can see that the red face, or the red centre, which was there, has come down to here. The blue centre, which was here, has gone to there, and this purple centre has gone there. So normally on a Rubik's Cube, if you're looking at it on the top and we're dealing with corners, you'll know that the corner would go from the upper left, up back left, to up front left, across to up back right, and so they'd travel like that. So these centres travel in a similar direction, but of course this one's down the front. So I'm just going to undo that, and we can see now, remembering just that the corners travel in that direction. Alright, so when we come to look at this, we're looking for basically a corner like, centre like this to roll down into a position like this. So that yellow needs to go there. We also note that if I'm holding the puzzle like this, there's my upper face, the centre is going to go there. The orange centre will now go across to there. So that'll do two of these centres at once, and we don't care at all about the triangles, and that's why this is fairly straightforward. We just carry out an ordinary corner piece series, and having done that, we've placed that yellow centre and we've placed the orange centre. And corner piece series is just a standard commutator. There's a lot more about it on my channel. That will leave us with the pink, the blue and the green centre needing to be done. So again, I now just look across here and see that the pink needs to go there, the blue to there, and the green to here. So that's nicely set up. If it wasn't set up, if I had another centre over here, I would simply turn it down like that so that the centre was in that position. And again, I wouldn't have to worry about triangles because I'm not concerned with them at the moment. So let's do these last lot of centres. And you can see that's pretty painless. The centres are now all done, and all that's left are these little triangles. Now, I'm certainly not going to make this video a complete solve of these things because it does take a long time, and you don't need to know, you don't need to watch. I don't think anyone's going to watch all the triangles being solved. So what I'll do is solve maybe 1, 2 or 3 of them, and then cut to a bit down the track and maybe cut to the last part as well, and do it that way. So the video will cut in and out a little bit. Well, let's have a look before we actually do some of these triangle sequences at exactly what's going on. What we're going to do is hold the puzzle like this. So we're going to carry out firstly, and I'm doing it on the solved part, an edge piece series where we turn the left up and the right up and the left back and the right back. And you can see from that that we've just moved these 3 parts here. Having done that, we're going to turn this front left vertex clockwise. I'm going to bring this one down and return that. And the interesting thing there is that this hasn't changed, this hasn't changed, this has only changed by 1 piece, and that's the important part. Having done all that, we're going to undo the edge piece series, so this time right up, right, theoretically, down, there we go, left, down, and now I'm going to undo this part here. So we turn the front left clockwise, move that back, and return it. What you'll notice is that not much has changed. In fact, the blue piece that was there has now gone to here. This green piece has now gone up to here, and the purple piece has gone across to there. So remember that if we look at it like that, the pieces that are involved is this little piece over here, goes to here, goes to here, goes to here. So that's all that changes, and so this is why this sequence can be used. Nothing else will be touched. So what we're looking for is either a piece that's over here that needs to go to here, and it's quite symmetrical if you look at that, or a piece that's in this position that needs to go up to this position. And we can always tell whether that's the right position because this will just roll down. That green piece will roll down into its correct position. So with that knowledge, we're going to be able to move around our triangles. Alright, well here's an example of how we can actually end up placing 3 triangles at once. Reasonably unusual, but let's do it. I notice here that I've got a yellow triangle on this face, and that's coming down there, and the opposite part, it's going to go over to this green triangle here. Now that means that what I would then like is to try and move this green triangle onto the green face. So any of these that are not already green, in fact all of them, will do. But what I'm thinking is it would be nice if I could move that green triangle into that position on the green face, which is an orange triangle. Because what that is then going to mean is that the orange triangle, this green will go to the orange here, and that orange will come over and replace the yellow. So by that way we'll place 3 of these things. So I want to try and move that orange over to this position there. That's the position that's involved. So what I'll do first is just turn it round like that and see if it's there. And it's not there, but what you'll notice is that it's 2 around from that position. And if you've watched the other main video, which is the lower half, you'll know exactly how we can move triangles around to where we want them to be. So this triangle needs to move 2 around clockwise, and so we're going to do an anti-clockwise movement of the vertices around it to place it there before we start. And we're just going to undo all this at the end. So anti-clockwise. Now I look at that and say that's gone out of the orbit, so I don't like that particular anti-clockwise face. So what I'll do is we'll try this anti-clockwise, and then here it is over here, and we can now turn that one. And that's placed that orange piece in exactly the position that we want it. So in terms of undoing the setups, I can be guided by colours because I can see that this blue needs to connect back with this part here. So we'll do that at the end. We now have these 3 pieces set up, this piece here, going to this piece here, going to this piece here. So we can now go and carry out our sequence, and that is our standard edge piece series, which is that there, and then we turn this front part clockwise, bring this down and turn the front part back, and now undo our edge piece series. We now undo this part over here, so we bring this down, move it back and put it back there. And that's completed the move. And when we go ahead and undo, you can actually see the yellow is now there, that orange piece is now in that position, and this position is the green. So let's try and undo this stuff. We see that the blue needs to match up down here, so we'll turn that back first. Just going to align things, there we go. We then just look at it and try and be smart enough and go, okay, I'll try that sort of thing, but it doesn't look right. So I would then try turning this blue back to there. And that does look right, and this green's matched up, and I can then see that that just turns back like that. So that's an example of placing 3 of these triangles at once. Well, here we've got a case where we can place 2 triangles at one time. And the first thing I notice is that if I hold the puzzle like this, I've got a grey triangle over here, and I wouldn't mind getting some of these grey ones done on top. So that grey triangle needs to go across to here, but that's not part of the grey face. So I'm going to just turn that down like that, and that means now the grey triangle will go and sit where that blue triangle is. This blue triangle, then I would quite like to go and place onto something in the blue face, but if that's not possible, I've got another plan. So the first thing I'll do is see if it's possible to get part of the blue face down there, and so I'll do something like that, perhaps turn that, and I notice that that little pink triangle, even though it looks like it's on the blue face, it's actually not. It's part of this grey face. But then I think that doesn't actually matter that much, because if I put that there, that little pink triangle will end up going back across to place this. So the grey will correctly place, and that pink will correctly place. So they'll end up placing 2 of my pieces. And that's definitely good enough. I'm happy with that. And so having done those 2 setup moves, we should be able to easily get them back. We now carry out the sequence. So edge piece series. Do the swap out, undo the edge piece series, and undo the swap out. That's done. We just have to now undo those moves that we did, which were those 2 moves, and we'll see that there's now a pink over there, and there was only 1 grey here before, now there's 2 greys. So that was worth doing. Let's have a look and see what else we can find at this stage. I would probably go and look and see that this little yellow triangle over here wants to go to this position, but it's not a yellow face, so I would then perhaps turn that down, and now I can get that yellow triangle to go and sit here. I next note that that's a little pink triangle, so I would like to place that onto the pink face if I can, and I need to get the pink face over to that position. So just turning that is not going to be good enough, because it's not going to affect that piece. So then I might try turning that around, and I think, well, that's good, but it's already a pink piece, so I'm not real happy with that. So the next thing that I would try is putting a piece here, if I could, that was going to go to the green face. So I'd look at that and say, well, the first thing I'll try and get that green down there. Don't like that. What else could I do? There's no other green face, there's no other green pieces sitting there. So this is an option now, and sometimes you do get a little bit desperate with this. So I've got that green piece there, and I'd like to move it to there. That means it's a clockwise move, and so I'm going to turn 2 adjoining vertices anti-clockwise. So let's see if we can do that. 1 there, 1 there. And again, we're going to be guided by the colours when we come to undo that. So now that green piece there is going to go to there and solve. That yellow piece will go to there and solve. So let's carry out our sequence. Do the swap, undo, and undo our swap. Now we just need to undo those setup moves, so let's have a look at the colours. The red's here, so I'll match that back up there. The next thing, I'll probably think that those pinks need to go over here, so I'll try that, and that does seem to have worked. I'll then look at these pinks, Put that there, and the last thing I'll look at these yellows. And so I didn't really even need to remember any of the turns. Now let's see what's happened. That piece used to be yellow, it's now green. The piece that was here, you remember we turned down like that, and there's that piece there, so that's now been placed as well. So we did end up placing those two pieces. Now we are down to the business end of this puzzle, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 triangles only to go. And the fewer triangles there are, the more impossible it becomes to place them. So I'm going to show you the way that I'll do something here, and it's just involving, really the setups are involving the same kind of techniques as moving triangles around a centre as we've used earlier in the piece. Now the first thing I'm going to do is note that I've got a blue triangle on this face, and because of the way we're doing and the symmetry of it, I know that this triangle here and this triangle here need to be involved. In other words, I need to move that blue triangle over there. Now you know that's an anti-clockwise movement to around, and so I'm going to do that by turning faces clockwise, and I'm going to either turn this face and this face clockwise, and that'll do the job, and that puts that blue triangle exactly where I need to be. Now I'm not going to remember about that because I can see easily enough how to undo that. The colours will help me. So that's my first triangle in position. Next, what I'd like to note is that that's a blue triangle, and so if I could, I'd like to put a blue spot over here for this to go to, if I could. So the first thing I'll try is just turning this one in the blue face around, and I guess miraculously that has actually gone in exactly the right spot, which is good. Doesn't always happen, but sometimes it does. So that's now got one of my pieces going to there, and at this stage I'm extremely happy if I can place one triangle only. I'm not trying to place 2 or 3. So I know now that I can place that blue triangle to there. All I need to do is get a third triangle of whatever colour in this little position here. So what I'm going to do that, I can see that I've got one here, but I've also got one here that I could potentially use. So I'm going to just turn this down and see where that lands me. And the reason I'm going to use this is because it only requires one double move to get that triangle to that position. Whereas this little triangle here would require 2 of them, and it's just going to be too much for me to remember. So, in thinking about the order that I've done this, and you might think this is insane, it sort of, I guess it is in a degree, but you do get used to it, and it's fairly easy to undo them with setups, and I'm not remembering face names or anything like that. So I've got my blue one over here, I've got my orange one over here that I'm going to replace with the blue one, and I've now got the green one, and I can remember that I've just turned this face to put that green down there. So when I undo that, I'll be turning it back and connecting these grey ones up. So the question is, how do I get that green one over to here? Well, that's rotating around the centre in an anti-clockwise direction. So that means I'm going to turn 2 adjoining faces clockwise. So let's try this first. Now that, even though that's going to work and it would put it there, it also ends up knocking out the piece that I really want to be there. So I'm not going to do those moves. I'm going to turn this clockwise and then this one clockwise. And you'll see that that has still put that green one in the position that we want, and it's left the orange one there where we want it as well. So we now have our 3 pieces set up. The puzzle's in a complete mess. That's okay, we'll get it back at the end. Now that they're set up, we go ahead and carry out our sequence. So the same as normal. Do an edge piece series like this, left up, left down, right down. Turn this vertex, swap the triangle, there comes the green, and turn it back. And now undo. So this time right up, left up, right down, left down, and undo that little swap we just did. So turn that, turn it back, and put this back. And we've now completed that sequence, it's done. And you can see that this little blue piece here is attached to the blue part, so that's good. All I have to do is remember what I did in order to undo this stuff. Now if you really want to start thinking about it, you can, I guess we can consider that this piece used to be there. We turned this, to get this here, we had to turn the faces clockwise. So to undo it, we're going to turn faces anti-clockwise. And if I look at these colours, I can see that the purple's got to go over here and match up with this. So that's going to be a good first bet. That's fixed that up. Then I can see that the green is going to have to go and match up there. So that's good. At this stage, I then remember that I had this grey that I'd turned down there. So I'm going to go and match that up, and you'll see that it matches the blues and it matches these oranges, which is good, and things are starting to look up. And now I can clearly see that that has to go back there. Now the only thing left to do is this over here, and we put a piece in here from there, and if that went anti-clockwise, then we turned our faces clockwise. So to undo this, we must have to do an anti-clockwise turn, or we can just be guided by colours once again. So the reds have got to go here, or else these reds have got to go here. So I'd be guessing it's these reds have to match up like that, and that's good because that creates clear colours there. And I've now undone all the setup moves. Now you remember that we started with, I think it was 6 triangles. So let's do a count. 1, 2, 3, 4. So magically I think I've placed 2 there, unless I started with 5. But in any event, I've certainly placed 1. And we're now down to, I'm going to do a double count. That face is done, that face is done. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's only 4 triangles left to go. So normally that'll be probably another couple of sequences, which we'll see in a minute. Well, here we are down to the last 4 triangles. We can see there, 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 and there. And this is a nice little case in point as to not everything is always as it seems. The first thing I'd look at doing here is getting this pink piece. I can see that that will actually turn into the correct position there, which is nice. A nice easy setup move for that. And then I notice that this yellow will also turn down into that position, which seems fantastic until I consider what's going on. What I'm going to have to do is move the pink over to this spot, which is not actually the pink, it's the grey. Then that yellow is going to go to the pink, and the green will go to the yellow. So as a matter of fact, doing it that way will not change anything. It'll just change the position of these triangles, but it won't end up solving any. So I've got to think a little harder, and so that's not going to work. So I had the pink over here. If instead I decide to put this yellow over here to start with, and I then think, well, that yellow's over there, so I'd now like to place here the yellow position, and in fact that does place there nicely. So now I know that that yellow is going to go to that position, which is exactly what it needs to do. Having done that, all I need to do now is find another piece to go into this position here, and I don't even care if it's not the right one, but as it happens it is going to be the right one. So this grey piece here needs to go over here, and we know that that's going clockwise 2 spots around that centre, so I'm going to turn the faces, 2 adjoining faces, anti-clockwise to get it to move over there. So if I turn that and then that puts that grey corner exactly where I need it, and I've now got my 3 pieces set up. And you'll notice that the yellow will place over to here, this pink will go to there, which is a green position, so that won't place, but the grey will come over and place in this grey here. So we're going to solve 2 of these, and we'll be left with our final end game, which in this case will be 2 pieces left. So let's go ahead and do that. So the edge piece series, rotate and switch out that piece, and then undo that edge piece series and undo the switch out, and that's done. All that's left is to undo these setup moves, and again we can probably deal with this by looking at colour. Let's see if I can. Now that I've said that, I probably won't be able to, so I guess I'd think about that first, but that doesn't, I don't like the look of that. So if all else fails, I'll show you how we can do it at the end. Try that, that doesn't work. So this is probably a good example. What about this one? I go this way. that suddenly looks a lot better. So yeah, and that yellow will then go over here, which means that can then be seen to easily turn back there, and our final undoing of the setup is that one. Now you remember we started with 4, and as it happens we've only now got these last 2. Okay, well we're down to our end game, and there's no question about it, this is difficult. It's difficult to set up for. I think it's pretty rare that you're going to get a nice, easy positioning here. So we've only got 2 pieces, we've got a green and a pink. Now of course it's not a swap, it's a cycle, and we're just going to involve a third colour of either pink or green. So what I'm going to do is think that I need to move this green to that face, which means this pink piece, when it's here, is going to move over to here. And because of that, I want another pink piece over here, so that this pink piece will move to that pink piece, and that pink piece will come back and fill that spot. So therefore I'm going to take this petal part here across to the other side. So it's going to go up here and down there. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, and I'm not going to remember that because it's going to be a very obvious undo when we're at the end. It's going to look like that. So what that's done now is place my third piece over there, and I can just forget about this now because that's in position. So that pink is now got to go and land here. So my task now is to get this green piece here and to get this pink piece here. And once I've done that, I'll have my 3 pieces set up. So let's first deal with the back. I know that this pink piece has got to go around twice in a clockwise manner, so I can turn my faces anti-clockwise to get it there twice. So 2 anti-clockwise turns, and that pink piece is exactly in the position. It's not too bad of a mess up. I could see it. I could see the colours from here and get it back. So that's the second piece in position. And now we come to the hard part, because this green piece needs to go here. The only way that I can really do that logically is to move it twice to here and then twice to here. Now both times they're going clockwise around that centre. That means I need to do 2 sets of double anti-clockwise turns. And I don't really want to involve that. So here we go. I would try and go this face anti-clockwise, or this vertex, and then this vertex anti-clockwise. That's moved it there. And now I'll do exactly the same thing with these 2 faces. So it's that, then that are the 2 vertices that I turned. And you can see that that green has finally landed in that position. Now if I look at this puzzle, that there is no way you'd think that we're going to get this back. So just trust me, we will. All I need to remember is that this is the last part, and I had to go from here to here, so I had to go clockwise, which means I had to move my faces anti-clockwise. So to undo it, I'm going to undo by moving these, or I say faces, moving these vertices clockwise. But we'll get to that when we've done the cycle. Let's carry out the cycle to move the pink to here, the green to here, and the pink to here. And that is the standard cycle that we've been using all the way through this video. And undo. And we've now, congratulations, finished our placement of pieces. All we have to do is remember what to do to undo stuff. Now you remember that we moved the piece clockwise, so we moved the vertices anti-clockwise. So to undo that, and you remember we did this and then this each time. So we're going to go clockwise, clockwise. Now you can see it's starting to take shape. Clockwise, clockwise. Now you can see this, and so we've only got to deal with this piece here. And we did 1 turn for this to go. In fact, let's not even think of that. Let's just look at the colours and see if we can make that match up. The first thing I think, I'll try that. That hasn't worked. So I say it's not that vertex that's turning first. It must be this vertex. And if it's not that, then I'll start panicking. It is this vertex. I just needed to do it 1 more. And you can now clearly see that that yellow has gone back. And we're just left to undo this edge piece series setup and move. And of course this is going to jam up. No, that's all okay. And as we look around, there's actually nothing left to solve, and with some gratefulness and amazement I say that means that our Rex Bauhinia dodecahedron is solved.